merciful Father, Lord, we thank you for this meeting tonight. Lord, we ask you that you open the minds and hearts of every person on the sound of my voice. Lord, we ask you to move Bastrop forward. Keep us so close together, one can't fall without another. Lord, look over our children in our community, Lord. We ask that you put a stop, a period to crime in our community, Lord. We know you have all power, nothing too hard for you. We just ask you this in Jesus' name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Salute. Go ahead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comments, this is item number 3, as they relate to items on the agenda.
Mayor, it's hard for everyone out here to hear.
Thank you. That was your public comment.
And the mic on.
Testing.
That's it.
Thank you. Okay, public comments as they relate to items on the agenda. There are none. All right. Announcement. I have just a few announcements I would like to make. I've already congratulated Bishop Bradford and thanking him for joining us. Love the Boot Week, April. Thank you to those who participated. Thank you, Councilman Green, for your diligence with the cleanup committee. Keep Morehouse beautiful. On Forest Street, we want to thank you for your dedication. The Morehouse Community Development Walk for Autism. Thank you very much as well. On June the 6th, and I don't have a time, the Delta Community College will be opening the simulated nursing program, or at least for the public to come in and see. But I only have the date, it did not have a time. We had a lot of events this month. We had Teacher Appreciation Week, Administrative Professional Day, and Nurses Week. And I want to recognize Ms. Angela Moore, who is a council member, and she is in the healthcare profession. And did I see Ms. Prater in the audience? Okay, I want to recognize you and thank you all for your dedication. I think we all gained a different appreciation for healthcare providers through the pandemic, and even now we still have to be very precautious. Would y'all agree?
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The marker for Dr. Mabel John, thanks to the Chamber of Commerce, some other unnamed donors, and Mr. Doyle back there, and People's Water. We have the money. Sandra, you have sent. We have sent a deposit, so we're good on that. And I look forward to sharing the date when it arrives so that we can all do a special unveiling. The update on the Clean Water Act, Doyle will get with Mr. McNew, and we're going to bring you up to date. Mr. Nelson, if you will just stay in touch with me on a date that works for him. Some other things we talked about, and I constantly look for ways to keep the public engaged and communication absent of a newspaper. We have our city website, and I also put a lot of things on my personal page, and I've been trying to move towards moving everything to the Bastrop, City of Bastrop official page. So if you would, if you see something that the public needs to be informed about, please share it, because we are kind of limited in how we can disseminate information. But with that being said, I talked with Mr. like new, and we may have another alternative that will support us in that effort. All right, the next announcement I want to talk about, and we are all very, very grieved with the recent events that have happened. And I ask that you continue to lift all the families up in prayer, because I know that their hearts are hurting. Just want to talk to you a little bit about curfew and the existing ordinance. Where is Chief Reed?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a packet, a copy. Ms. Goldman, did you give them a copy? Okay, thank you.
Okay, 8-304 in the city ordinance. Still? Can y'all hear? Test it.
Chief,
This one here, it's on there.
Okay. Eight 304 of the city ordinances states it shall be unlawful for any person under the age of 18 years of age to remain in or upon a public street, through or any public place between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 12 midnight and 4 a.m. Friday, Saturday, in the city, unless one of the exceptions applies. And the exceptions are in 8-305. And just to briefly tell you what those exceptions are, when accompanied by a parent, when leaving a lawful event such as a game or something of that sort, and if they work a job and it's within 30 minutes of them being at home. We've had this curfew for as long as I've been on the police department, which is right at 24 years. And also, 8-306 talks about parental responsibility. And it states it shall be unlawful for a parent having legal custody of a minor to knowingly permit or insufficient control to allow a minor to remain upon the city street, through or public place under circumstances not constituting an exception otherwise beyond the scope of this article. So the term knowingly includes which a parent should reasonably be expected to have concerning the whereabouts of the minor. So basically it's saying it's the parent's duty to make sure that they know where their children are at all times during the curfew hours.
Okay, thank you, Chief Reed.
Yes, ma'am.
If you'll remain up here for just a minute, in case there are any questions.
I have one question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, since the sheriff department is working a lot of our night shifts, are they aware of this curfew?
Yes, ma'am, they are. Sheriff Tubbs has a copy of this ordinance, and he has given them out to his deputies, and they gonna enforce it.
Okay.
Chief, so this, how long has this ordinance been in place?
Ms. Green, it's been
It's 1990.
1990, ever since 1990.
It's about the G19 of 1990.
Yeah. And when we worked 24/7, we always enforced it. There were many arrests we used to make in the past, you know.
You said when we work 24/7, you needed the Bastrop Louisiana.
Right. If we were still working at night, we would enforce it, but the sheriff department is enforcing it now because they're the ones who are working at night.
but we've always had it on the books since 1990. It's not new.
So it's not new.
No.
Okay, what-
Oh, it's being enforced.
What copy is it?
Sir,
You have a pack, copy. Ms. Gomes, did you give them a copy of the? Okay. It's going to take a community effort to take care of this problem. It's an age-old problem, and unfortunately, things happen that break our heart, and everybody wants to congregate and do something immediately, but it really takes a well-thought-out plan to implement. And we're gonna have to change the culture for children. Safety tips. What are we doing from the city standpoint? The city is a response unit with the police department. We respond to things that have already happened. So we're gonna have to look to those organizations that have an influence on the lives of children, because by the time the situation gets to the city, it is already late and is at an epic proportion. But the sheriff, Chief Reed, along with Superintendent Gray, we've been having conversations on how we can combine our efforts, but we got to have the community's support to be involved. At the door, the entrance of the south entrance, there are some pamphlets there. We'll keep them replenished. Talks about safety. We will give some to the schools on parent-teacher conference days. Neighborhood Watch has come up over and over again. That's another mechanism. When you see somebody that's not usually in a neighborhood, so that's where in your districts, if you know of hot spots, or if you want to develop a neighborhood watch program and have somebody to be the chairperson or the leader. And sometimes there's some resistance because nobody wants a tag on their back. And that's very unfortunate, because that's the same thing that inhibits us in a way from addressing if nobody would tell what has happened. We have changed the hours at the Dotson Park. It was from 4 to 9. But thinking about the children, we changed it from 3 to 8 so they could get home earlier. And we're open for your suggestions for your districts and how we can come together and be a united force. The tragedy, the loss of life, that breaks our heart. But then we have to also think about there are other issues that children suffer from. Abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, molestation. All these are issues that children have to deal with that we don't know about. So while on one hand we have a loss of life, then on the other hand we have a loss of quality of life, because those children are affected for the rest of their life when they have to deal with such things of that proportion. Having retired from the school system, and still I'm bound by law, and each one of us, if we see something and we know that something is wrong, we have an absolute obligation to report that. So we all share in from a standpoint of being a good neighbor in our neighborhoods and taking a part in combating some of these things that are going on. We have Juneteenth.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Wait, Mr. Green, I think I heard it. Excuse me, I think I heard Mr. Green first.
I'm free, so if, when y'all patrolling, if you do see a child is under the age of 18, what happens from that point?
if they're in violation of curfew,
Yeah, right.
we bring them to the police department and make contact with their guardian, and their guardian has to come to the police department and pick them up. If they've done it more than several times, we've already received warnings from us, then the parent is ticketed and they have to come to, city court and go before the judge.
Thank you very much, question. Bishop Bradford.
Excuse me. Chief, if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that the sheriff responsibility to patrol since this new sheriff take over, whatever you wanna call it? I mean,
They assist us on nights, yes.
I mean, are they aware?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, why they enforce it? I see children walking in my district every night. We gotta be active. I mean, it's good to have it on the books, but you as chief of this city, you should make sure the sheriff is patrolling because it's happening.
Right. I've had some discussion with the assistant chief and, starting next week, we're gonna have some officers. Like I said, we're shorthanded, but we will have some officers to come out, every now and then from 11 maybe to 2, something like that to, assist. But we can't put too many hours on because they're, like I say, we're short and they still have to work their regular shift.
Okay.
But we're
Just
looking into
one at a
that.
time.
But we're looking into doing that.
Okay, I asked you earlier in the financial meeting about getting some volunteer, what you call it? Auxiliary officers.
Mhm.
You told me that the present chief had did away with that.
No, the past chief.
I'm past chief, thank you.
Right.
I want the present chief to put it back and forth. Do you have the power to put that back and forth, so?
We're just, Bishop Bradford, that's an administrative decision, and we're going in the wrong path. We're certainly open to your ideas and suggestions. Now, just like, Mr. D. Green, Bishop Bradford, if you know of children, or underage children, out at those hours of the morning, give the chief a call. I get the calls at 2 o'clock in the morning. If you see something, that will help us, because the likelihood of an officer running upon somebody is just very unlikely. So if you know where they are walking and where the hot spots are, call and let the police department know.
Okay, thank you,
Yes, sir.
ma'am, for that,
Pretty much, you pretty much got something.
Hold on.
I was gonna ask you, I'm sorry.
hold it for me, please.
I was gonna ask you we all
Go
represent our
ahead, go ahead.
district.
Mhm.
We all represent our district. I was just gonna ask you, what can we do from each one of us do to help?
Basically,
If you don't have it now, you can just also reach out to us, just let us know how we can help.
okay.
Because it affects all of us, not just one.
Okay, and like I say, communication is the best thing. I mean, all of y'all have my number and y'all have police department number. You can call me, you can call me and tell me. I'm gonna answer the phone. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. I see your name pop up on there, I'm gonna answer.
Okay.
Got a point. Wait, Chief,
Mr.
Wait, go ahead.
J. Green.
you say you want some suggestions. First of all, when y'all met the other day, it was you, the mayor, and Sheriff Tubb.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We want to be included because we know our districts, it's communication. So if we involve, we can do it, it's gonna take all of us. It's gonna take all of us to solve the problem. So y'all having a meeting, and if we included in the meeting, we can go out to our constituents, because we probably know our district better than just about anybody. So we can tell you, when in that meeting, we should have been able to tell you right then, okay, chief, this is a problem area. But, if we could just be involved in it, then it'll be much better for everybody.
Okay, yes, sir, let me make this point.
Yes,
Hotel,
I guess she says administrator
that's correct.
position. Ms. Charter, I don't have my charter, I'm sorry about that. Do you have the charter here because, okay, well, section 13 of the charter clearly speak when we're short of officer in a state emergency or this type of, the mayor has the power to, deputize somebody through the chief. And mayor, since administrative position, I would sure appreciate you looking at section 13 of the charter.
I read that section,
Okay, thank you.
Bishop. And also, we are, and it's in the charter, the very front part of it, we are subject to civil service laws. So we have rules to operate by. Committees, we had some committees, Mr. J. Green, to go to your point in terms of sharing your ideas. The meeting that we had on Friday was was from an administrative standpoint to calm the public. And that's generally just procedure that we do when we come together from administration and separating legislation from administration. Okay, those are all of the
Can I
announcements.
get more information, please?
I have another announcement.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure, just to piggyback on what you said, I'm not sure of the date, but I have a group of people such as individuals and groups and clubs. They wanna, come together, either do a softball fundraiser or basketball fundraiser to give back to these families that lost their loved ones. So I don't have the date, cause they try to put in, they will be in touch with you, Mr. Jesse and Terry. They have yet to give me the details, but I wanted to announce it to the public and to the council what we have a trying to do.
Okay. So you'll let us know if private donations that anybody wishes to give and how to get that, make those donations possible for those families.
And I just have one more question for you, a short question.
Yes,
The phone lines at night, they can call the city of Bastrop number and it goes over to the sheriff department?
Yes, ma'am, they can call either number and the sheriff department is gonna get it regardless.
I got one other question.
Yes, sir, Mr. J. Green.
Mayor, I just want a point of information. You just stated that y'all had administrative meeting, and you said the legislative part of it. I wouldn't refer to that. I'm talking about coming together as a community, what I would refer to. I know we on the council when you handle day-to-day operation,
Yes, sir.
but I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is coming together as a community. Don't worry about what position or title you have. We need to come together and solve problems. That's the only thing I was saying. If we can get involved, not as a council member, but also as a council member, just anybody that wanna be involved, especially a council member.
Okay. In your district, yes, sir. And if you wanna organize neighborhood watch, if you wanna have a centralized location in your district, so sometimes people are more amicable to go into a place within their district. If you like to reserve conference room number 2, if you have a group of people, then we can make that happen. We welcome all of the support, because as I said, this is a combined effort. That concludes my announcements that I had in reference to, thank you, Chief. Yes, sir. Oh, thank you. May Madness was a huge success. And I had the pleasure of my life. If you all watched it on Facebook, Mr. D. Green was in the dunking booth. And I walked up and they told me I had to pay to throw a ball at him. And I said, well, I got to pay to do that. So I just promptly got my purse and ran back. I said, well, just joking on that. But anyway, they had let me have some throws. And I threw a ball. And it didn't hit the mark. And did y'all see Mr. Green doing this? Okay. I became more determined. Even though I was trying to cheat and stand on the line or across the line, I backed up and abided by the rules. And boy, oh boy, I hit that mark. And to see Mr. Green fall in that water, I see him make those expressions.
You enjoyed that a little too much, maybe.
Lady name is Cindy with the Humane Society. I'm sorry. That was the Humane Society. They reached out to Miss Angela, and they needed a representative from the Board of Audit Persons. So she
Volunteered.
she volunteered me, so I did it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they raised over $450.
That's good. Thank you for reminding me of
So I took one for the team.
Thank you,
Please, let this be on record. Don't ask me to sit in a dunking booth. My age, my knees, don't ask me to do that. But it was successful. It's about 140 booths. Was it about, is that what I heard? Kay, are you?
I know there was over, I know it was around 130, because I looked for spaces that were 170
regular meeting April 13, 2023, and special meeting April 17, 2023. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve those minutes from April 13th and special meeting April 17th.
Properly moved by Mrs. Tappan
Second.
and second by Mr. Locke. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, consideration of and action on reports of committees appointed of the governing body. Okay, that brings us back to the initial, excuse me, committees. We had a cleanup committee, we had a crime committee. We had 3 committees. The street, that's right, because Mr. Locke, you on the street committee along with Mr. Shaw. Mr. D. Green, you and Mrs. Tappan were on the cleanup committee. So now we have that other committee. There are 2 more council members.
The crime committee, I'm not sure who was on the crime committee. I want to say, I think Mr. Prater was the only one.
It was.
Only.
Yeah. Because we did 2s, and so 2, 4, that was the 5th person, so.
So with Jay Green, Mr. Brecker, would you guys want to be on that committee?
Yeah, I work with that, work with the chief, yeah, that'd be fine. That'd be good, that.
Well, actually, it's working with a plan of action. We have a revitalization plan that's almost completed. And we have one more thing we want to do, and that's identify 7 goals as to wrap up where we're trying to go and where we want to be at a given time. Thank you, council members. Reports of city officials or employees required by law. Department heads. Chief. Did he?
I need to come over there.
Probably since that microphone is not working.
Come sit down by me, Sam. Good evening. Last month, as I said in the finance meeting, I was fortunate enough to attend the Louisiana Fire Chiefs Association conference. It was a great conference. Got to interact with a lot of fire chiefs across the state. Got to meet a lot of them that I wasn't aware of. You know, I knew a lot of them names, but I had never really got to meet them. So fortunate enough to do that, learn a lot about a lot of the struggles that's going on with them, the same stuff, some of them just on a bigger scale. As far as the department, we've been doing a lot of training this month, continuing to meet all our training needs, including some supervision stuff. Tomorrow we'll be conducting some training out at the training tower. We'll be doing some rappelling and that kind of stuff tomorrow morning before lunch. So any of y'all out and about interested in seeing what we do, ride out, you might get to see me hanging off of a rope out there. Last week I was honored to be asked to be the guest speaker for Monroe Fire Department's graduation. It meant a lot to me to be asked by Chief Williams, the other Chief Williams, to come and be the keynote speaker. So that was something that I put there on my little feather in my cap. That was a privilege to do that. They have a great ceremony down there for the graduates. Had 11 people graduate, so that was something that I was very fortunate to do. And as the mayor already said, I'd like to thank Councilman D.D. Green for allowing me to stretch out my softball arm the other day during May Madness. I was first in line. So I was the first one to get him wet. So I got to see his little dance didn't last too long with me. So he said the fireman kind of mistreated him a little bit. That was great. He himself made that Duncan booth a great success, because if they would just put a mic on him, he would have made a lot more money. But he made the money because he was talking trash to everybody that walked by. they went to digging in their wallet to come throw them balls there, so, you know, I'll go ahead and volunteer you again to do it next year, D.
Already said.
And that's about all I have for now.
Okay, that's very kind.
Do we still have our #1 rating?
Yes, we do. If you recall, I think 2 months ago, we received the results, so those results are good for, another 4 years, barring any kind of setbacks we have, yes.
Is there a possibility, because we don't have enough manpower, does that go into?
Absolutely, that's a big factor into
So we need to fill those spots in.
Yep. So we're still 8 short.
#1 rating, we need to get some more.
Yeah, correct. Anything else?
Thank you, Chief. Item number 9, other unfinished business. Ms. Goldman?
We do financials.
Yes, ma'am, it's not on the agenda because, well, all you have the bills and the claims. And once the Budget Act is passed, then it becomes administrative to execute the day-to-day operation. And there's nothing in there that's outside of the budget.
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
On the budget.
Bishop Bradford.
Yeah, speaking of the budget coming up in July, any way possible we can get a copy of that budget early so we can go through it and kind of see if we find some ways and maybe we have money to put up in other areas. And, I think the charter, I apologize for not bringing my charter, but I think the charter said it's the mayor and the board of alternates concerned take care of the financial business of the city of Bastrop. Ms. Goldman, do you have a copy on hand so we can go through this?
Copy of the budget.
The charter.
No, sir.
We should have a charter at all times because we're operating by the charter in the city of Bastrop. And I think someone got the position kind of, because I'm not gonna sit here and take responsibility as an alderman elected by the people and be bogart or pushed over. We gotta operate according to the charter of Bastrop Louisiana, and I think the budget, we all have a right to see, all aldermen have the right to see this budget before it's presented, make it in. And another thing too, we getting our package. I got my package yesterday at 2:38. I mean, I've been all busy all day. I've been to ceremonies, spiritual ceremonies, assisting. We need our package earlier.
Do my best, sir.
Ms. Gold, can I kind of make a suggestion to you, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I know the deadline is usually Monday.
Bishop Bradford, it is strictly an administrative, all department heads are subordinate to the mayor.
Ms. Mayor, as aldermen, you get your charter. You talk about authorization. We have the authority, and I don't want to get argumentative. Just read your charter.
You don't have to.
Okay, what read your charter?
We're getting away from the agenda.
No, well, you cut in without just asking something to make us more efficient and better. You seem to cut in, I'm not picking at anybody. I'm just trying to get clarity. Well, we can do better. That's the city government. I think we could if we get our packet early. I think we could if we had the budget to prepare for next year, and we may maybe, go forward.
I have a question. I'm confused. So you are saying, Mayor, that we no longer have to vote on bills and claims for each month?
No.
That was my question.
Thank you. Thank both of you.
Okay.
No, you do not, because the budget was passed. The budget was passed and adopted on June 30th of 2022. There are certain circumstances on which when that you go outside of that budget, and there's a prerequisite that has to happen with that. But it is not within the authority of the council to pick out bills that they choose not to pay, because the city has to function. Once the Budget Act is passed and adopted, and it was duly adopted, there were 3 board members here that adopted the budget, then it's passed on to the administration to execute. Yes, sir.
That's not.
That's not right.
So in other words, being that the council control the budget, so what you want us to do with every meeting, then we make a motion, because that's all we have to do is make a motion and have somebody second the motion. So now you're telling us, at this month, we've been doing this since I've been on this seat, that we approve every bills and finance every month. So if that's what you need the council to do, to start making a motion, that hey, we gonna make a motion not to pay this. And I don't think we have to need a second from my other councilman. Cause we
It's not
control
on
the
the,
budget.
it's not on the agenda.
And you,
Well, we gonna
we don't have to, we can expand the agenda, man. The only thing we need is a vote.
That is
And
not
we're not
right.
trying to
Take it off.
do this chaos, man.
It's not a matter of taking power,
Sure,
It's not, it's a matter of reason.
We have a
Wait just a
fidelity
minute.
duty to take care of the city, business, financial, profit. That's our fidelity duty. That's
You
our
control
argument.
the
I can see
day-to-day
how you can
activities.
overrule that.
The day-to-day, we control and approve the budget. So now what you're trying to do, you're trying to eliminate us from doing our job.
Cannot do
And
that.
we don't need to be in this, city council meeting to have this type of conversation.
No, we don't.
But
That's why you have,
you allow us, and you made us have this conversation, Mary. Cause you tell us now what we've been doing for the last, how long you been on? For the last 3 years.
20 years,
Since I've been on the
about
board,
20 years.
we approve bills of claim every month.
No.
You come in today and say, hey,
okay,
we gonna take this from us?
recently,
Okay.
yes, sir, recently,
But then
Attorney
everybody
General,
want to finger at the
excuse
council,
me.
and we only doing our job. That's not right.
let me.
It's not right.
Order. The Attorney General sent a whole staff of people to Union Parish last month. It was in your packet. There was a lot of discussion on what is and what is not. And simply because something has been a practice doesn't mean it's a policy. This is not on the agenda for discussion at this point, so I'm
We
gonna move
will
on.
expand the agenda at the end of the meeting.
Point of information, Mayor, you the chairperson, you know, we all of us got a right to speak. When somebody's speaking, nobody should be interrupting, but it's been going on for all of a sudden. You just come in because it's something that the council don't wanna pay, because they feel like that you circumvented the council to do what you did, and all of a sudden you just gonna not put it on the budget, you're not gonna put it on the agenda, you're not gonna let nobody vote for it, because
Why?
it's been going on ever since 20-some years, past practice, ever since I've been coming to the meeting, and all of a sudden, you don't wanna pay something, and now you just gonna not even put it in the package, and not even gonna have the council to do anything, because you got a Attorney General report, and you told me verbatim out your mouth, Attorney General report, that's what it is, it's just an opinion.
Well, the big question would be, why now?
Why now?
That's the $1 million question.
It really is, we are going too far in a direction that's not on the agenda.
You like to do that, you like to pay the victim, not today, Mary.
I'm not playing the victim, I'm not playing the victim.
It's not,
Now, let me say something. I'm going to say something and we're gonna close out this discussion. Mr. Jones, would you speak to the legality?
No, he's not about to speak to us.
No, it's not out of order.
He's not about to
Point of order.
He's not about to speak to us.
No.
He shouldn't even be situated.
That is incorrect. I asked,
Well, where's the contract? I want to see the contract.
Mr. Jones, would you speak to the law as it relates to that?
We
So
actually
we
not.
appreciate you, but not.
I didn't ask
The
for.
ultimate, we all are in this together, okay? And I think the ultimates have the power to say they wanna hear it or not. You don't have that type of power, you just preside over me. You don't give, we make law and order, the ultimate. Okay, we make the law, we make the policies of the city.
Okay, Mr. Jones, would you speak to that, please?
If you're yielding your time.
I am yielding my time to Mr. Jones.
I think Mr. Jones need to be speaking,
Well,
I like to
order,
make a
order,
motion. I like to make a motion.
order.
I like to make
I'm
a motion.
not
I like to
asking
make a
for a
motion
motion.
that the ultimate vote.
I'm
that
not
Mr. Jones
asking
be
for a
moved from
motion.
I second that.
The chair does
You
not
can't
recognize
do
the
that, Mayor.
motion.
You cannot do
No,
that.
no, he cannot say that,
And you know
just not obligated to the mayor, you obligated to the board of aldermen.
That's right.
And we ask that you move him, and I'd like to make another motion that he moved by the office. Can I get a second on that motion? That he
I did
that he
not,
removed from,
the officer
you
is
put
not
people
recognized.
out all the time, you don't even have the power to put people out there.
Mr.
It's a new day, a new time, we're gonna do
Yes,
it according
it
to the
is.
rule.
You're exactly right.
Okay.
Mr. Jones, would you speak to that, please?
If the mayor's yielding her
I'm
time.
yielding my
I
time.
don't think the mayor can yield her time to you, sir, and I'm not gonna give my time.
Order.
The board have asked you not to sit there. You've been out of order, nothing, man, you out of order. And I'm not gonna stand here, today is the day that we get out of interview law.
This meeting.
We're not gonna let you go. Or I guess we're allowed to move people, I'm not gonna let you speak.
Mr.
You don't have authorization to speak here.
Mr.
Not before this board. You out of order.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, you speak out of order, sir.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, you speak out of order, sir.
Would you speak to that?
Mr. Jones, you speak out of order, sir.
I'm not in competition with you, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, you're out of order, you speak to that. You just heard the vote of what the argument say, sir.
Once a motion is on the floor, somebody second.
Right, when people ask you,
Don't we
I
take a
didn't
vote?
ask for a motion.
well, you don't have to ask for a motion.
I don't recognize the motion.
Well, you have to recognize the motion. Mayor, let's work together. Now, right now, I would appreciate that you respect the position of this board.
I know.
I would appreciate you. Yes.
I would appreciate the respect as the chief executive officer of.
You're not acting like it. Because you chief executive officer, you wear what the auditor request. And we're not going to hear anything from Mr. Jones. He's not been hired by this board of aldermen.
Okay.
You have not been approved.
Can we follow Robert Rule order?
Yes, please.
All right.
Point of order.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, you're not going to speak to this board of aldermen.
Bishop Bradford,
Hey,
you
Mr.
are
Jones,
not the
I-
presiding officer.
Mr. Jones, you're not going to speak to here today.
Bishop,
No, I'm not going to
let me ask you, Mr.
You're not going to
Once
speak
we
today.
have a
I'm
motion on the
not.
floor with a second, what do we do from that point?
But he's not out.
He's not the attorney.
Well, where's the contract?
Okay.
And what's the contract where he been hired an attorney? This board has to approve that contract.
Okay.
That's in the law. The
Mr.
mayor cannot go behind this alderman and do as she choose. If she did, all she have to do is do it right. From what I hear, Mr. Jones may be accepted. It's not Mr. Jones. It's definitely not you, Mr. Jones. It's respecting the board of aldermen. It's not you.
Okay, we have citizens comments.
And we appreciate you give us the respect that you're asking for.
Mr. Bradford.
It won't happen today, Mayor.
Mr. Bradford,
It
I
won't happen
have
today. Somebody has to stand.
presided this meeting. And I'm going to say this,
And say it, please.
where?
Why is it so important?
Wait,
we have to
Mr.
discuss
Wait
it
a
now?
minute.
Why is it so important you have to do this right now?
Order.
Come on, give me a break.
Where was everybody when I was spending countless nights addressing an audit that I had absolutely nothing to do with findings, and having $1 million
We never
grant
got
hanging in the balance, and having a $500,000 and having to address all those issues, and having operational things that needed to be done. Where was everybody?
Nobody
We have
called.
day-to-day operation. Who's responsible for that? We'll move on to item number 10.
Number 8.
Number 8, okay. Number 8, action on ordinance and resolution introduced at previous meetings. Ordinance 23-4270, an ordinance to authorize the act of sale by the city of Bastrop to sell adjudicated properties that described as parcel 009120000012, lot 12 of Bastrop, resurvey of what is that? Allen High tract and lot 3 of Allen High subdivision as recorded in plot book 1 in accordance with Louisiana statute 2202, and to authorize the mayor of Bastrop to sign all necessary documents to address other matters relative thereto. Ms. Gold.
Well, this property was, went to sale for adjudication, in 2013. The original owners never come back and redeemed it, so we had somebody that was interested in buying. We advertised in the bid, and it was to Mr. Wilmore, and he bid at $533.
Okay, we ready to take action on this, Ms. Gold?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time I'll entertain a motion on item number 8. He has done all of what was required of him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion on item number 8. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is it Properly moved by Mr. J. Green
Second.
and second by Mr. Locke. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item number 9, other unfinished business. Ms. Goldman.
We don't have anything there.
Okay, thank you. Number 10, introduction of and permitted action on proposed ordinance and resolutions.
Nothing to, introduce this month.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Item number 11, other new business. A, resolution 23-2039, a resolution adopting a 2023 Morehouse Parish multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan for the city of Bastrop, Louisiana. Ms. Goldman.
Mayor, Chief James Martis contacted us. He's over the, Morehouse Parish Homeland Security. FEMA requires us to, adopt, a plan, and we are adopting the plan. That way, if something comes in and there's an emergency, we will be allowed to apply for FEMA funding. And he has asked us to take in consideration to adopt this.
Okay.
Is there a set plan already?
It is, and he's gonna get us a copy of it. We just need the resolution, say we're gonna do it. And then FEMA, once they sign off on it, they'll send us a copy. And we'll make sure you get one.
And I move for adoption of that resolution.
Yes, sir. Properly moved by Mr. Locke,
Second.
second by Mrs. Tappan. Are there any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. That brings us to item B, discussion, action, bids on hay cutting at Industrial Park and Morehouse Memorial Airport. Ms. Goldman, this is about,
Yes,
the
sir.
hay cutting that's going on that they pay us. If you want to give an explanation on that, please.
Yes, ma'am, we do have a bid, and the individual is bidding $3 a bale, and what he'll do is, he'll bring his tractors, he'll mow it, he'll provide us proof of insurance for liability and everything. And then, once he cuts it, he'll call City Hall, somebody will go out and count the bales, and then he'll write us a check for that. And his name is Mr. Gray. I think I've included that bid for y'all in your packet.
This time, having heard that explanation from Ms. Goldman, I'll entertain a motion on the hay cutting.
I make a motion, Mayor.
Properly moved by Bishop Bradford
I second.
and second by Mrs. Tappan. I didn't get another second on the other end. Properly moved and second. Any questions, discussion? Yes, sir. Mr. Locke.
Is that inside the, airport?
Yes, sir, there is a section that's kind of wide open. Then he'll cut that, and then when he gets closer to the runway and around the lights, then we have somebody go in and cut that.
Does it have special approval from?
They just have to let our airport manager bring it, know that they're gonna do that.
All in, is that the only question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to item C. We have our former mayor, Clarence Hawkins. Discussion, action, permission to apply to U.S. Department of Transportation for charging and fueling infrastructure discretionary grant program on electric vehicles. We're trying to stay on the cutting edge. We've got broadband that we need to deal with to make sure that we are in the contemporary mode with what's happening in our society today. So when I spoke with our former mayor, and he brought this to me, and I thought it was a good idea because we don't want to be left behind. I met with Mayor of West Monroe and the Mayor of Monroe earlier this week, and we're talking about ways to enhance our community because Bastrop is the next largest city to Monroe. Mayor Hawkins, if you would, come to the microphone, please.
so accustomed to standing up, I hope it's all right if I stand. Is it okay?
That's fine.
Okay, greetings, Mayor and members of the Board of Alderpersons, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Clarence Hawkins, a citizen of Bastrop. I reside at 2506 Providence Avenue in Bastrop, Louisiana. First, thank you for doing what you do. It's a significant task and challenge to donate your time and energy to look out for the welfare of the folks of this community. It might seem that it's unappreciated, but it is appreciated because you maintain our quality of life. One of my philosophies is if you have knowledge, or knowledge if it's not used or shared is useless. Knowledge if it's not shared or used is useless. So my wife tells me that when I'm talking to people and sharing stuff that I know they don't want to hear it all, but I still can't give up the fact of sharing it. When I realized that with all the efforts that's talked about saving the environment and reducing emissions and looking at all of the things that's happening nationally, looking at the trend for going to electric vehicles, EVs, saving the environment and reducing emissions. And I came across an opportunity. One of my associates has expertise in grant writing. And I know you have grant writers in your company and that you use constantly. But there's a great opportunity, and the title of this thing is long. It's talking about infrastructure to support alternative fuel vehicles. You see all of the commercials, you know, every automobile manufacturer is changing either to hybrid or all electric vehicles. There are a lot of people who probably want to buy them, but they don't buy them because the capacity to charge them, other than installing a charging station in their home, is limited. So the federal government sent out something called a Notice of Funding Opportunity. And it's giving entities the opportunity to apply for a grant or grants to do studies and design systems that charging stations can be installed in your communities. Rural communities and underserved communities are usually the last ones to get access to capacity. The mayor of West Monroe, if you talk to her, probably mentioned that they recently installed a station in West Monroe. If you look on the internet and look at the availability of charging stations along Interstate 20, they're mainly at some hotel chain that's there because they're trying to attract people to that hotel because they have the ability, if they have an EV, to come in and plug it in, get their vehicle charged overnight to go the next 350 or 400 miles. Usually, in communities that are not on main thoroughfares or that are not major urban centers, those communities don't get access. So that means if one of you wanted to buy an EV, you'd be hesitant to do it because you would be limited to either how far you could get from your house to somewhere because you might run out of juice. This is the opportunity, as the mayor stated, for Bastrop to be on the cutting edge and take advantage of an opportunity to apply for a grant, to do a study, to see where strategically throughout this community, in residential neighborhoods, at City of Bastrop, at schools or whatever, to install these charging stations. Municipalities and public bodies, school boards, county governments, all kinds of governments are also incentivized. There are grants that you, the City of Bastrop, can get to install charging stations to allow you to get discounts by buying vehicles, the trucks and stuff that your folks are using. If they start buying EVs to pick up trucks and all, you can get incentives and grants and discounts by doing that as well. So they're encouraging municipalities and school systems and counties and police departments and fire departments to start looking at buying EVs rather than fossil fuel vehicles, EVs or hybrid vehicles, and start using them. And as I said, to incentivize them, they're making grants available for them to do that. I mentioned to the mayor, and I think she's simply asking you to give
her permission to proceed with the, engaging with groups to do the application. No charge to you, like in most grants, and Ms. Golan can attest to this. Most grant writers will write the grant, and that's a part of the grant that's administrative, and that the group that writes it gets their compensation by writing the grant if they get it. If they don't get it, they don't get paid. If they get it, you get the grant funding and the study and the reciprocal stuff that happens with it, and you get the benefit of it. Just that simple.
Thank you.
Any questions for me? Yeah.
Yes. Are there any questions in reference to the presentation our former mayor has made in regards to the charging stations?
I noticed the deadline is May 30th.
There are rounds. There is one deadline coming up right now on May 30th, 31st, whatever the last day is. This team is prepared because they're doing them all over the nation. They have experience, so they'll get it in as discretionary and as a pecking order. We meet the criteria because we're rural, we're underserved, we're off-road, and all of that kind of stuff. So as connected with this, if the city of Bastrop decides to investigate in buying EV trucks and all, that will probably incentivize you because you're saying, okay, we're looking at buying electric vehicle trucks and equipment, so we need to have charging stations. So it's a twofold thing that you can do, which will probably put you in good stead.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Yes, sir.
God bless the city of Bastrop.
Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to move forward on this transportation, charging, and fueling infrastructure discretionary grant program for electric vehicles.
I make a motion.
And I second.
Properly moved by Bishop Bradford and second by Mrs. Tappan. Are there any questions?
How much the grants for?
There's $2.7 billion in the whole thing. So the amount of money of the grant for the city of Bastrop will depend on how many stations they do, or what it is that they do that's specific to the city of Bastrop. But the grant total is $2.7 billion. I don't think we'd be using that much, do you?
If that grant is approved, is it a matching grant, is it, they take care of the whole thing?
Someone had a question in the audience.
What's the percentage of the?
Would you, and this is kind of taking us off our natural course, but if you come to the microphone and state your name or pass your questions.
If it's all right, I heard of that.
Okay.
And the amount of the admin and the fees, that's set as part of the grant. We have no control over that. If you look at USgrants.gov and then investigate the bill itself, you'll see what it is. But all that's specified and we have no control over it.
All right. We've had a motion, a second, discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
May I say just one thing?
Yes, sir.
None of this will come to me individually. So if somebody will ask the question, what are you getting out of it? I'm getting out of it that Bastrop will be better equipped to serve EVs. If I decide to buy a Tesla, then I can plug it in.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, and thank you for your continued interest in making Bastrop a better place. That brings us to item D. Mr. Ricky Anderson, District F, Juvenile Curfew Resolution 22-1993.
Good evening, Ricky Anderson, Bastrop Louisiana.
Okay.
I'm here to talk about three things and be quick about it. District E, Juvenile Curfew, and Resolution 22-1993. I'm gonna start with District E, and this not only affects this District E. The city has a lot of abandoned buildings around here, and has been grown up and whatnot. We need to try to take care of that a little bit better than what we're doing, and so we can eliminate some problems in the community. Prevention is the key thing, and safety is the key thing when I'm looking at on all three of these things I'm talking about right now. So therefore, the city is obligated and liable for any abandoned property on their property. So therefore, we must try to eliminate some of those things. Juvenile curfew. I know you spoke about that. The chief came up and gave you a little introduction about the law, and I have it right here in my hand as well. I have studied it for the last 2 or 3 days, and we need to make some teeth into this law now. The chief did say 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock are curfew hours. Weekdays, 11 o'clock, weekends, 12 o'clock. Kids are out here at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, destroying property worth more than $25 fine if you pick them up for the first time. So therefore, I'm gonna ask this board and requesting this board to examine the fine for these parents. Not $25 for the first time, not $50 the second time. Let's put $100, $200, and $300 with some type of what? Counseling for the parent, because he or she not counseling the child, and for the child, counseling for his behavior. Now, if the kids out here doing this type of instruction at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, your curfew is 11. It's not important. It doesn't work. And wrapping this thing up, Resolution 22, 1993, what was adapted in 22 of last year, we have paid over $200 and some thousand to the sheriff department. I'm asking this board to have the sheriff come in here and explain to this board what has he done since April of last year until this year. I can tell you what we have gained. We have gained 8 homicides since we get into this resolution. And the kids around this community are running wild because the people have to close down at 6 o'clock. Let's open this department back up. Let's do that, ladies and gentlemen. The burglars and the criminals know that. We are weak. We are all doomed. Get the sheriff in here and explain to us. This $500,000 we didn't pay him, and we're paying him to the date. Curfew is null and void when you don't have officers in these districts patrolling. I'm not talking about trailing 5 cars behind each other, scaring mom and pop coming from Walmart because of a busted light. That's been going on. That got to stop. That's not patrolling, that's oppression. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Green, Mr. Bradford, congratulations. Y'all got a task. John D. Street, Mr. Tappert, Mr. D.D. Green, Mr. Locke. Spirit Pride in progress. Let's move on that. Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
No, ma'am, I'm gonna make a motion that we expand the agenda to address bills and claims for the month of April.
I second it.
What is your issue, Mrs. Tappan?
Because we are responsible for the financial.
Once you have a motion on the floor, somebody second it, it's up for a vote.
Okay, so let's vote. All in favor?
Wait,
Sam?
no. The mayor is the one that says. I asked, what was your issue if a motion?
Because we are responsible for the financial.
The mayor is responsible for the
That means
day-to-day.
you're responsible for everything. What are we responsible for? You know,
Let's-
because you don't know the city council.
I'm not going to debate this issue.
Okay, I have a motion on point,
You didn't want to
I'm
hear
calling for a
legal.
point of order.
Do you have a motion?
I have a motion on
I
the
second
floor.
it.
I don't recognize the motion.
You don't have to.
You don't have to use it.
Can we vote?
Can we vote on the motion, please?
We vote, can we vote?
Can you have the vote?
Call for a vote?
Yeah, yeah.
We need to have a roll call.
Okay.
We're gonna be doing a roll call
Yes, ma'am.
on the expanded agenda first.
Okay.
If you don't do that, your vote's not gonna count.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're making a motion
Yes,
to
ma'am.
expand the agenda for what purpose?
To address the bills and claims for the month of April.
You're making the motion. Mr. Bradford, second. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. Green, Mr. James Green,
Yes.
Mr. Derry Green,
Yes.
and Mr. White. We need a public comment too on this, okay?
Okay.
Discussion? Is there any discussion? No discussion? Public comment. Anybody need to comment on the bills and claims? I will.
If you will
Would you come
come.
to the mic and state your name and address for the record?
My name is Joanne Bradford, live at 1320 South Washington Street. I'm a former city councilman, District B. I was on the council for 4 years. In every meeting, we voted on the bills and claims to be paid by the city. The mayor do have, control of day to day, but the council is responsible, because that's why it's in each district to work with the mayor to make this city prosper or grow or whatever. The mayor just don't shove things down their throat and expect for them to take it, okay? So Mayor, I think you out of line.
Okay, Mr. John, would you speak in public comments, please? To this,
The only thing I would say is,
if you will come to the microphone.
Devin Jones,
He's coming, the agenda was expanded, open for public comments.
Items that you gotta speak about this particular item.
Okay.
On this item.
Okay, yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay.
I'm Devin Jones, I don't know, do you always like that address here? Okay, it's gonna be 710 Hodge Watson Road, West Monroe, Louisiana. As to the budget and bills items, particularly one, I would just preface that you need the public comment before the vote to expand, so you don't get outside the open meetings. Two is that, as to budget and bills, the way the law works with budgets is it's passed by ordinance. When it's passed by ordinance, the only way it can be amended by the council is by ordinance. And so whenever you do the monthly bills and expenditures, those are for review of the council. However, once an item is budgeted per the ordinance, the mayor is then authorized to spend the money as allocated. Now, if spent outside the allocation, then you have a problem. But once allocated, it can be spent. So whenever you review monthly bills and financials, the law is very clear that if the council wants to disapprove one or expand it, they have to do it through the budget mechanism, which is their financial mechanism. The expenditure of the funds, once budgeted, is to be done by the mayor's office. Or, for instance, if you budget to the chief of police, then the chief of police is authorized to spend within his budget. And so whenever you do the monthly reviews of anything, that generally is a procedure that a lot of boards do, unless you have a spending ordinance in place that doesn't authorize the mayor to spend over a certain limit, then that can be declined or accepted. That is just simply a perfunctory thing to show the bills to the council. But as far as approving or disapproving, the council does that in the budget setting.
Yeah.
Where is line item 52 in the budget?
Wait, let me announce. Mr. J. Green. Wait a minute, we're going into discussion. We've had public comments, and Mr. Jones.
I want to ask for point of information. You got him up, I want to ask.
I did. Wait just a minute, Mr. Green. Where are we with this process? We want to do this properly?
I'd vote to expand the agenda again, so now you have it after public comments, and then you can go into discuss.
We already did that, sir. Thank you.
It was public comment.
We don't need your legal advice, we just need your, your comment.
Correct.
That's what it's all about.
No.
Okay.
I just said, I want to ask him a question. You made a point that the spending is authorized when it's in the scope, within the scope, right?
When it's a budgeted item, yes.
When it's a budgeted item for a particular incident, right?
For particular allocations that
Right.
are on the budget.
So, for example, if you operating as a city attorney and you ain't been approved by the council, then that's not what it was allocated for, because you haven't been approved. Am I right? You
Well, I think the budget item that you have on there is for legal.
Okay, and we asked where was the contract, we hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah, you haven't been, so actually, you not really working with the city, you contracted through the mayor on some other type of stuff. You just stated that it's gotta be for what it's appropriated for, right?
Correct, and I believe your budget item is for legal, it's not appropriated to a single individual or entity.
Well, we had another incident with civil service, and they said we exhausted all the money, so how we gonna pay you?
What he referring to is when we do a budget every year, each item comes with a line item. So if she go by saying that she don't have to get approved from the council, at what line item would you be getting reimbursed from? Because we approve for city attorneys, meaning like Pierre pay, Ricky Smith pay, so that those items, their pay is budget, right, Ms. Andrew? So now when you come outside of never being voted by a city council, meaning you're not the city attorney, because the city attorney have a line item, meaning you're not a city attorney, then where are your funds, where are we paying you from, or the other attorneys that we haven't approved? That's what I want. Because each budget item, right, come out, and second also as well, you said it's controlled by ordinance. And if my memory serves me correctly, the council control the ordinance, so if the ordinance not up to our standards, we can change it, right?
Correct, you can always amend a budget ordinance, and you have to go through the 30-day notice period in the public hearing.
Again, yes, that's our power. And at this time, thank you for your comment, if you have another comment, because you just made a comment. I appreciate your comment too, Mr. Jones, appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, before we end, Teresa, can the record reflect that the council was not authorized to vote or approve the month of April budget?
We got to, we gonna vote. We haven't been, we can vote on this.
There's been a motion to,
Yeah.
hold on, another second, we just need a,
Ms. Bowman can call for a vote. We ready to vote, Ms. Golden?
Wait just a minute, I'm still sitting in this seat. I'm still
Motion
sitting,
on the floor.
I'm still sitting in this seat.
I'm calling for a
I'm
order.
still sitting in this seat.
Order.
Ms. Goldman, let's get back on track with this. Mr. Jones was speaking on the citizen comment following Ms. Bradford. Okay. And your motion was to expand the agenda to discuss. What was the wording, Ms. Goldman?
The motion was to expand the agenda to vote on the bills and claims of April. You have a motion and you have a second.
Okay.
And they had discussion. We've had a public comment.
Okay. Now,
Is there any more? Because if the first was the public comment, the audience may not know what we were talking about. So I would ask, is there any other public comment on the thing? That way they heard what was discussed.
okay.
May have more input as to what's going on.
Any other comments? Okay. It is the will of this council to vote on something that is outside of their authority to, you can't.
No, you can't say it.
I'm saying it, and a lot of things have transpired here tonight. And it appears to me that instead of this being a meeting of the mayor and the council, it has become a meeting of the mayor and the council versus the mayor.
No, ma'am.
But,
No, that's not.
okay.
We do not want to give that impression.
I
hate you to feel that way, but we do.
It appears, and I'm fine.
Trying to shut us out from everything.
I'm going to finish my statement. It's the will of this council as to vote on Mr. Green.
Only thing we can do, Mayor, I'm trying to keep us in line. Only thing we can do now is talk about bills and claims. Am I right, David?
That's it.
That's it, we can't, anything outside of that, we are out of line. Right, Mr.
Oh,
It's on that, we do that, we can talk about it, we can get the audience time to talk about bills and claims for the month. If not, if no one wanna talk, then we come up for a vote. We can't talk about nothing outside of that, once we expanded the agenda.
it is within what was expanded. I was reiterating. It is the will of this council to take a vote on bills and claims on an expanded agenda on an item that is administrative out.
And let the record reflect that it is the council's duties.
Are you
Yes, sir.
saying that we cannot have an extended meeting? Just point of information.
Yes, sir. An extended meeting, you're having it. You're having
No, we
it.
haven't approved it yet. We haven't approved it. You have called.
Right, y'all hadn't voted to
Right,
do
yeah.
the agenda.
Okay,
We're
so,
still in the discussion.
good discussion, okay.
This is what the big one.
Question this week. We've had a motion, we've had a second, we had public comments. I'll ask for a vote. What am I asking for a
You're
vote on?
asking for a motion
A motion
to expand the
to
agenda.
expand the agenda, okay, that, because we got derailed, okay. We've had the public comments, I'm asking for a motion to expand the agenda.
The motion already made.
I will make the
So
motion.
now we're
But
ready
we
for the
had,
vote.
okay,
Ms.
vote.
Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Bradford,
Yes.
Mr. James Green, Mr. Derek Green.
And we are, what are we?
We're voting on to expand the agenda.
Yes.
And Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Okay, we're expanding the agenda.
Okay. Now, that we're on the expanded agenda, what is the motion that, to
Let,
vote on?
okay, let the record reflect that this council is still waiting on an opinion from the Attorney General regarding the city attorney. So in that light, we approve all bills and claims except for line items 52, 91, and 103.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, that's all.
I'll second that motion, I'm sorry.
That was 52.
52, 91, and 103.
All right. Moved and second. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, your motion is recorded as stated.
Gotta join.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Properly moved by Mr. Locke,
Second.
and second by Mr. J. Green. No, all in favor?